Good morning. Okay, so yesterday we started this lesson judiciary. We learned about the features of Indian judicial system, how the Indian judicial system is basically a independent entity. It works separate from the executive and the legislature, and the meaning in the sense that the judges of the courts are not appointed by any politician. Politicians have no connection with these judges, and these judges are appointed by the President of India. That is why they are independent in nature. That is the reason they are able to give the judgment in an unbiased way without supporting any particular party as per justice has to be served. Then we also learned the structure of our courts, how we have the lowermost district courts, or the session courts also they are called as. Then above that we have the high courts which is located at the capital of every state. And then we have the Supreme Court of India which is located in New Delhi, that is the capital of India. So we have only one Supreme Court, whereas we have many more uh, high courts and much more larger number of district courts. And then we also learned about the appellate system of our courts. The appellate system works in such a way that if a person is unhappy with the judgment which is given by the lower court, he can always approach the higher court so that he can get a better judgment or maybe a judgment to his favor. So that is why the appellate system is in place, and once the judgment is passed by a higher court, it has to be abided by the lower courts. So the judgment which is given by the Supreme Court is the supreme judgment, you can say, and has to be followed by all the courts which are below the Supreme Court. So that is our entire system of the judicial system. So now the question we have is, how many types of judicial systems or how many types of legal systems do we have? Are there any branches that we have in our judicial system? The question is yes. The answer is yes. We do have two types of branches in our legal system. One branch is called as criminal branch or the criminal law, which is related only to criminal activities, and the other one is the civil law, which is related to civil disputes. So let us try and understand what the difference between the civil law and criminal law is. Now, the earlier yesterday, just before we concluded the class, we learned about one case which we took as an example for the appellate system, where a married couple were there and the wife dies in the house fire. And after appealing slowly, they find out that actually it is the husband and the mother and husband's brother who are responsible for that woman's death. So they were all put into prison with life sentences. So this particular case is actually a criminal law. Wherever there is a criminal activity, a crime against society, and it is a violation of the criminal law, it comes under the criminal law branch. And wherever there is a dispute between parties, there is a civil kind of misunderstanding between parties and a settlement has to be reached, it comes under the civil law. So any kind of illegal activity will come under criminal law, but any kind of a dispute between parties, no, wherein there is a misunderstanding and a understanding has to be agreement has to be reached between two parties, or a settlement has to be done between two parties, these kinds of disputes will come under civil law. So these are the two main branches. The legal system also deals with civil law cases. We have read in the previous chapter that a domestic violence bill was passed. In the previous chapter, I had shown one caricature to you, a cartoon was shown to you, and you had to read through that if you all remember. In that also, it was against that was a domestic violence case. So those are all coming under the civil law category, criminal law category. So have you all understood this difference between the civil law and the criminal law?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay. Now another very important question is which comes in front of us about our legal system is Does each and every citizen of India have access to the courts? Is it easy to approach a court, file a complaint, and get a judgment? Or is it difficult in India? See, in principle, no, all citizens of India can access the courts in this country as per the constitution. As per theoretically speaking, each and every citizen has the equal right, and each and every citizen can approach the court for whatever problem he has. And the court also plays a very significant role in protecting the fundamental rights of the citizens. So, if any citizen believes that their rights are being violated, they can always approach the court so that justice can be served to them. But while the courts are available for all, one reality is there that the access to the courts is a little difficult for the majority of the poor people in our country. People who live in remote villages, people who belong to extremely poor sections of society, usually these are the people whom the higher class of people or the richer people, the wealthier people, or maybe the businessmen and the industrialists, these people always take advantage of the poorer classes sections of society. So the access to the courts for these poorer people is much more restricted. Why? Because now, say for example, a small village in the district of Belgaum. If there is a dispute among the villagers, they can go to the panchayat, yes, to settle the dispute. But if that does not solve over there, they have to go to the district court. So from the tiny village, that person has to travel all the way to the district court to settle whatever dispute they have. If the dispute is settled over there, well and good, no problem. If not, it can go to the upper court or the high court, which is located in the state capital. So just imagine a poor villager from a tiny village in Belgaum. If he has a dispute, he has to travel all the way to the state capital, that is in Bengaluru, which is 500 kilometers away from here, to settle his dispute. You can only imagine how much money that person is going to spend for traveling, how much money that person is going to spend for staying in Bengaluru, how much money that person is going to spend for the lawyer and all the paperwork and all that legal process that he is going to fight for that particular problem. And in the meanwhile, he will not be able to work, he will not be able to earn a living. His family, which depends upon his daily wages, they will not be getting money. So all these, conditions are there for the poorer people. It is very difficult for them to actually settle any kind of dispute in higher courts. And that is the reason why these people normally have to accept whatever is given in the smaller courts, or maybe it might even never go to court at all. If there is a dispute, sometimes it may never also go to court. So they are deprived of that particular justice. That is the system. Now, in principle, yes, in theory, each and every person is equal. They have the right to court, yes. In on paper, that is how it looks. But in reality, the reality is very much more different. And sometimes these legal battles, these legal cases, they go on for years and years together. We can only imagine that that poor person, will not be able to pay for that money. He will not have that much money and resource. People go into debt. They borrow money from other people just to pay for these legal fees. Life becomes extremely difficult for them, and that is the reason why they just simply give up over that. So the access to courts on paper it is there, yes, but in reality it's a totally different story. So the Supreme Court has taken one decision in this matter. They have made something which is called as a public interest litigation. You can see this on your screens over here. In response to this entire mechanism where poor people are find it difficult to access the courts, the Supreme Court in the early 1980s devised a mechanism which is called as the public interest litigation, or in short, it is also called as PIL. This is to increase the access to justice. It allowed any individual or organization to file a public interest litigation in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of those whose rights are being violated. I will give you a tiny example of this. Uh, Say for example, in a village, there is large amount of farmland, and this large amount of farmland is going to be occupied by the government of India for constructing highways. We have seen large highways being constructed everywhere, right? Many times we see, even right from here to Khanapur, we have seen, large, huge, big highways being constructed, and the side farms, they get occupied for making these highways. Without occupying those lands which are available in the farms, it is not possible to construct these highways. So the government forcefully takes that land. Sometimes some small amount of compensation is given, but many times this compensation is not enough for that farmer. But this is how the government works. They take that land and they build the highway. So just imagine there is a tiny village, and unfortunately a highway has to pass through that village and occupy large amounts of land over there. So now these farmers in the village, they are going to find it difficult to approach the court because they have to travel all the way to the state capital to file the court. So what the panchayat of that village can do, or what these farmers together, five or six farmers together, they can come together and they can write a letter. They can write a letter to the High Court or Supreme Court saying that this is the problem that we are facing. We are having the land which is our own land for many years together. We have been doing agriculture on this land, and the problem now is the government wants to construct a highway over this land. And even though we will be paid compensation, government will pay us money, but the problem is we are going to lose our livelihood. If that land is not there, we do not know any other work to do. We have been doing agriculture for years together. Other than agriculture, we do not know what other work to do. So this kind of a letter the farmers can write to the Supreme Court or the High Court, and then the High Court will take up the case on its own. High Court will take up the case on its own, and then they will try to find out what solution can be reached for these poor people or these poor farmers in that village. This is just a hypothetical imaginary story I've given you, but this PIL structure, which is the public interest litigation structure, is very, very successful and has been used for many cases wherever the citizen is not able to get justice. The legal process was greatly simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court can be treated as a public interest litigation. In the early years, PIL was used to secure justice on a large number of issues, such as rescuing bonded laborers, inhumane work conditions, securing the release of prisoners who have been kept in jail for even longer periods than whatever sentence they have got. So wherever there is a problem, this PIL route can be taken and justice will be served to the people. Has everybody understood about this public interest litigation?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any doubts by anybody? How the public interest litigation
No, sir.
works? Okay, very good. What about Sumit? PIL stands for public interest litigation. It means any case wherein a large number of people are affected together. That means the general public. That is why a case put in the interest of that public. It is called as litigation. Litigation basically means a case. A case which is going to be put in court. That is the meaning of the word litigation. So a case which is put in court for the benefit or for the interest of the general public, who once the judgment is given, everybody will benefit from that judgment. That is called as a public interest litigation. Any normal citizen, any ordinary citizen of India can file a public interest litigation in the High Court or the Supreme Court. Is that clear, Sumit? Okay, good. These are a few images which are actually there in the earlier NCRT textbook, anyway not required. So there are many cases, many different kinds of cases. The first photo that you see on your screens over here, in the year 2001, there was a drought situation in Rajasthan and Orissa, and millions of people actually faced a lot of food shortage. But on the other side, in the same time, if you see, the government was having huge godowns which were full of grain, plenty of grain. And this grain was not being sent to anybody. In fact, there were rats which were coming and eating that grain. In the same period when Rajasthan and Odisha were facing food shortage. So there was a public interest litigation PIL lodged for this particular case, and immediately the court said that what is the use of this government when there is food grain in the government go down, but they are not sending it to the drought affected people in Rajasthan and Odisha. So this is one very famous case which was put in the year 2001, and immediately on hearing this situation, the people went to work and the food grains were sent to these drought affected areas. So sometimes even when the government does not do the work that they are supposed to do, this public interest litigation helps very much for the ordinary citizen of India. Another case, very similar case, is uh, in the first photo that you see. Many women are sitting over there. This situation is called as Hunger Amidst Plenty, an organization which was called as the People's Union of Civil Liberties, or the PUCL. They filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court. It stated that the fundamental right to life, which is guaranteed in Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, included the right to food. Means every citizen of India has the right to eat food. The state's excuse that it did not have adequate funds was shown to be wrong because the godowns were overflowing with grains, and the Supreme Court ruled that the state had the duty to provide food for all. So that is how the food grains went to these drought affected areas of Rajasthan and Orissa. So these food grains went to the ration shops. They were provided at extremely cheap rates, very low rates in all the government shops, and the meals were also provided to children so that everybody would be relieved from this drought situation. So the Supreme Court also told the government that you need to appoint people who will manage this kind of a drought situation and see that nobody in India goes hungry, even though there are godowns of large amounts of godowns where food grain is being stored. Everybody understood this example, what I told you just now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Okay. For the common person, access to courts is access to justice. The courts exercise a crucial role, a very important role in interpreting the fundamental rights of citizens. And as you have seen in the above case, whatever I've described just now, the courts interpreted Article 21, that is the right to life, means it also includes the right to food. Without food, you cannot have life. It is as simple as that. So if the constitution says that the citizens of India have the right to life, it also means that each and every citizen of India has the right to food. That is a very important interpretation. Means they find out, the Supreme Court of India actually finds out the meaning of each and every article which is given in the constitution, and they say that this is how the constitution has been written and this is the actual law which has to be given for the people. They therefore ordered the state to take certain steps to provide food for all the people, and they also implemented the midday meal scheme in the schools. So this is a very important role, important work which the courts do over here. They interpret the constitution, they find out the actual meaning which is there inside the constitution, so that each and every citizen of India, they benefit from the constitution. They are not deprived from the actual rights that they have. Okay. Now another saying which is there in in general about the courts in India is justice delayed is justice denied. Sometimes for any settlement of any dispute or any court case, it takes many years and years together. Even in that appellate system, that what we heard, what we read, no, we saw that that lady, she died in the kitchen in the year 1980, and finally, after appealing to the two courts, finally in the year 1985, after 5 years, this judgment was given. But in fact, sometimes the judgment takes even more and more years than that. It takes 10 years, 15 years, sometimes even to the extent of 20, 25 years. That is how much delay sometimes some cases take. So many times the saying is there that justice delayed is justice denied. Another issue which that affects the common person across access to justice is the inordinate, means extremely long number of years that courts take to hear a particular case. The phrase justice delayed is justice denied is often used to characterize this extended period of time which the courts take to settle any particular case. However, in spite of this, there is no denying that the judiciary has played a very crucial role in democratic India, serving as a check on the powers of the executive and the legislature, and also in protecting the fundamental rights of citizens. The number of the Constituent Assembly, the members of the Constituent Assembly had quite correctly envisioned a system of courts with an independent judiciary as a key feature of our democracy. So, the structure of our courts, even though there are many drawbacks, even though there are many disadvantages in the structure, and even though sometimes, many times, we feel that it is not working, it is taking so many years for justice. This is mainly because of the extremely large population that we have in our country and the large number of disputes that we have. And that is the reason why sometimes, yes, it does take late, but there is always light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. Whatever problems are put in front of the court, one day or the other, the court will definitely give a judgment and see that the case is closed, and also see that justice is actually given in the truest sense to the people. Uh, up till now, whatever judgments have been given by the court, it is never such a case that people are unhappy with the judgment, because people try to the maximum extent to see that justice is given to each and every citizen of India. So if you are having any questions, you can please ask me now. Any questions about this lesson, judiciary? Any doubts by anybody? Sumit, Krishna, Sumit, yes. Poorest of people, how can they get access to court? See, that's why, see, as we read this particular case of the public interest litigation, that is the way the poorest of people can actually get access to court, because this public interest litigations which are there, no, the court will not charge any amount to those poor people. Wherever there is a large number of large number of people who are going to be affected by any particular judgment, and a PIL has been lodged, the court will not charge any fees for that. So that is the reason, that is the way in which the poorest people in India can get justice. Okay, so now I will be giving a small activity for you, which you will be doing at home. After this, now that this lesson is completed, you can write the question and answers, you can mark those question and answers which are there, and you can write those. Plus, along with that, you have a small activity. I want all of you to open your notebooks, and I will give you this activity. Full form of PIL is public interest litigation, Rishabh. public interest litigation. Okay, so now this activity that you have, you can write it in your notebooks also, or you can write it in your notebook and later you can write in your notebook. This particular sentence that I read out to you in the last part, that is, justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. I wanted to write a small story about how, even though there has been delay in serving justice, because of this delay, it could be possible that the person who is actually looking for justice doesn't get that justice at all. This particular situation of justice delayed is as good as justice denied.
Now, can you type the title in the chat box?
Yes, I will type it over here. So this story I want you to write in your notebooks. You can write it once you have completed writing the notes for this lesson. And please do not search the internet for stories, because many times I see that all the students will write the same story. You will type that, put that in the Google box, search, and you will get one story. Everybody will just quietly close their eyes and copy everything. Please do not do that. Try write it in your notebook. I don't want anything to be written in any A4 size. All these things must be written in your notebook only. Please do not waste A4 size paper and all that. Use A4 size paper only for writing your exams. All these small activities and all that you can always do in your notebook only, so that it is easier for correction also. Otherwise, hundreds and hundreds of A4 size paper will be getting accumulated over here. Right? So this is the activity that you will all be doing. Meaning of the title, how many times do you want me to repeat, Sumit? I don't know whether you pay attention or no, but the idea that justice gets delayed. Sometimes when a case is put in court, it takes maybe 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, sometimes even to the extent of 15 to 25 years to resolve a case which is put in court. And especially this delay is normally there many times in India. It is a specific feature of Indian justice system, you can say. It takes inordinate delay, extreme years of delay for settling the case. So this justice delayed, giving late justice, is as good as denying justice to any citizen of India. The delay in which justice is given is as good as denying justice. That is the title. That is, justice delayed is as good as justice denied. So you can come up with any kind of a story wherein some incident would have happened, the case would have gone to court, and because of the number of delays, because of the appealing from the lower court to the higher courts, it has taken long number of years to actually close this case. So come up with your own story, use your own imagination, and write the story on your own. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Yes, Rudrakshi?
Nirvaya case, can you write about that?
Yeah, definitely you can write that also. Definitely you can write. Okay. Yeah. So quickly, let me recapitulate whatever this entire lesson we have covered. We have learned about the independence of our judiciary. We have learned about the structure of courts in India. We have learned about the features of our Indian judicial system. We have learned about the appellate system. Then we also learned about the public interest litigation system. We also learnt about the two branches of our judicial system, that is the criminal law and the civil law. All these things we have learnt in this.
Nature of courts, high court, that
Yeah, that's for structure of courts also. Correct. That also we have learned about the structure of courts. So all these things we have covered in this lesson. That is the judiciary of our country. So please do read your textbooks. And once you have read your textbooks, while reading your textbooks, please underline whatever difficult words, whatever phrases you are not able to understand. You can post it in the doubt section. If not, you can also ask me in tomorrow's class. Definitely, we will discuss about those doubts and see that all your doubts are cleared. But this activity which I have given you, please do write it in your notebooks. It's a very nice, interesting activity. You will get to learn a lot about our judicial system. Okay, so that's
how we make the activity.
this activity you write in your notebook. Whenever the notebook comes to us for correction, I will correct it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So if there are no more doubts by anybody, the yeah, yeah. So we will meet again in next class. Yes, sir.
Then when you are taking no, take the road and just